The peptide that everybody names for Ozempic face. This is huge, right? GHK-copper is the baseline. It's not the answer here. And if you lost weight really fast on your GLP-1 and you watched your face go in, the reason a single peptide keeps disappointing people, it's not the peptide. It's that they're solving one problem when there's actually two. I'm gonna show you the full stack that beats GHK-copper alone, and the other half of the fix that has nothing to do with what's in your syringe. I'm Dr. Jones, DC, and I run a coaching side of our medical practice where GLP-1 and peptides are something that my team and I work with every single day. And I run peptides on myself, so this isn't theory that I read about. And I've watched what happens when patients who I work with lose weight really quickly and they don't protect the structure underneath their skin. And I've watched what happens when they fix it the right way. And I've lost 100 pounds myself, so I get it. Let's get the hype out of the way first, because I know some of you are already skeptical, and you should be. If someone tells you that you can just inject a peptide and your face just fills back up within a week, they're selling you something. And that's not how skin works. That's not how collagen works, and it's definitely not how this works. So here's what's actually true. Well, the word fast, it matters here, but not the way that most of you are thinking. But start early and fixed overnight, those are two completely different promises. And the people who blur them are the reason that your skeptic radar is going off. Because once you understand what's really causing that hollow, deflated look, and it's two things, not one, the fix stops looking like a syringe and it starts looking like a system. So stick with me here, because the second half of that system is the part that nobody selling you peptides wants to talk about. Okay, so why does this happen? So here's the version that you probably have heard. You lose weight, you lose fat in your face, your skin's got nothing to sit on, so it looks hollow. That's real. But when you drop weight quickly, the fat pads in your cheeks and around your eyeballs, they deflate. Your skin doesn't snap back at the same speed that it lost volume. So the collagen remodeling, right? Your skin physically reorganizing itself to fit the new you, it lags behind the weight loss by months. And that gap is the hollow look that you see. But that's only half of it. And the half that almost nobody explains is the half that actually matters. So real quick here, if you've been frustrated chasing a one injection fix for this, the link to set up a free call with our team is in the description. And that's where you stop guessing and you get a sense of what working with us is like. You can also text number on the screen if you're interested in that. So when you lose weight fast on a GLP-1, especially if you're barely eating, which is the medication makes you do, right? It's really easy to eat less. You're not just losing fat. You're losing muscle. And the research here isn't soft. Studies on rapid GLP-1 weight loss show about 25 to 40% of total weight that you lose is coming from muscle, not fat. This is what I call the GLP-1 crash. When the speed of loss outruns your body's ability to hold on to the muscle and structure underneath. And your face is part of that structure. Muscle, the connective tissue that frame your face, that give it shape. And when you strip that down by losing too much, too little protein, your face doesn't lose just fat, it loses scaffolding. So now you look at what's actually happened. You have two. You got a skin and collagen problem on the surface. You got a muscle and structure problem underneath. And that hollow look is both of them at the same time. That's why the single syringe approach keeps letting people down. It was never aimed at the second problem. And that's the lens here. So now let me show you the stack that actually addresses the surface. And then the part that rebuilds what's underneath. Before I do though, real quick gut check. If somebody asked you right now, what actually causes Ozempic face? Do you think you can answer it better by now? Okay, so let's talk about the stack. And I want to be precise here because the precision is the whole point. The peptide stack here is GLOW. 3 peptides, GHK-copper, BPC-157, TB-500. Now the reason it's a stack and not just GHK-copper with 2 tag-alongs is that 3 of them together do something that none of them do alone. People hear GHK-copper plus 2 others and they assume the others are just fillers. They're not fillers here. They're what makes GHK-copper work on those damaged tissues. So let's start with the copper, right? Because it's the one that you came here for. GHK-copper is a copper peptide, a tiny chain of 3 amino acids bound together. And what it does is signal. Specifically, it tells your skin to ramp up collagen and elastin production. Collagen is the firmness. Elastin is the bounce back. Those are the 2 things that your face loses when you drop weight fast. And GHK-copper is one of the few tools that directly signals the body to rebuild them. So in practice, the people running it for facial rejuvenation are either using it topically at low concentrations, a fraction of a percent, or they're running it injectable in the low milligram range. And some people, they go higher for a more aggressive push. That isn't a megadose situation, right? More is not necessarily better with this peptide. Now, GHK-copper is the signal. It's the engine. But here's the problem with running the engine by itself. The signal is only as good as the surfacing that it's signaling into. So if you tell damaged, under-repaired tissue to build collagen, you get a weaker result than if if you tell healthy repair tissue to do the same thing. That's the whole reason GHK copper alone underdelivers for so many people. They're sending a rebuild signal into tissue that isn't in any condition to rebuild. That's where BPC and TB500 are for. Together, they're what we always call the Wolverine, right? The repair and remodeling substrates gets your tissue into a state where the GHK copper signal actually lands. They're not redundant here. They work on different parts of the same job. BPC 157 is the localized repair player, and in the research, it's been shown to support blood vessel formation and tissue healing right where it's applied, getting the local environment ready. TB500 works more broadly. It's been shown to help cells migrate to where repair is needed and support tissue remodeling across a wider area. Now, the mechanisms are real and consistent, and they're exactly why these two get stacked together. BPC handling the local repair, TB500 the broader migration. One preps the site, the other moves the repair machinery in. You put it together, GHK copper signals the collagen rebuild, the BPC 157 and TB500, they work to get the tissue receiving that signal into better repair to execute it, right? That's the synergy logic, at least, and it's why these get stacked instead of being ran solo. Not because 3 is a bigger number than 1, but because the other 2 are aimed at the exact problem that makes GHK copper disappoint people when it's ran alone. At least for this problem, right? Ozempic face. That's the thinking behind the stack, and it's what I see hold up with the patients that we work with. So ask yourself here, if you were setting this up, would you know whether you needed the full stack or just one peptide? Now there's one more tier, and it's not for everybody, which is exactly why I'm going to be honest about what it is and what it isn't. When you add KPV to the glow stack, you get what's called CLO. Now KPV is not a skin peptide. It's not going to plump up your cheeks. KPV is aimed at the inflammation piece, specifically gut and autoimmune inflammation. It's a fragment of a hormone that your body already makes, and in the research, it works by quieting the inflammatory signaling, especially in the gut. Who's it for? Not everybody. CLO is the version for the patients whose real problem is gut or autoimmune inflammation or non-autoimmune inflammatory conditions at the same time, while you're trying to lose weight, right? So if your gut's a mess, if you're dealing with this kind of inflammatory load that rides along with autoimmune issues, that's when KPV can earn its place. And if that's not you, if you're just here for the facial thing, then you don't need it. I'd rather you run a clean glow stack than throw in KPV just because it sounds more advanced. So that's the stack. We got CLO for the structure and skin fix, and you got CLO for when gut and autoimmune inflammation is also in the picture. And I mean, none of it works the way that it should without the part that I'm going to show you next, because the stack is only solving the surface problem. So the part that nobody selling you peptides explains, at least most of them that I've seen, the glow stack is doing real heavy lifting, but it's solving one of your 2 problems. The other one, not at all. So think about what we've established so far. You got 2 problems, the surface and the structure. Everything in the glow stack is built for the surface, and it's genuinely the best tool that you have for it. Signals collagen, preps the tissue, rebuilds the skin layer in a way nothing else really does, but there's a gap. Not one peptide in that stack puts muscle back onto your frame, and not one of them slows down how fast you're losing muscle. Those are the things that cause the structural half of the problem, and they need their own piece of the fix, right? The stack isn't the problem. The stack is doing its job. It just can't do a job that it was never built for. So if you run the stack and you ignore the foundation, you're rebuilding a beautiful surface while the structure underneath keeps caving in. That's why people get frustrated. They did the advanced thing, they stacked the peptides, and they skipped the basic thing that was actually load bearing here. There are 3 pieces to this foundation. None of them are exciting, which is exactly why they get skipped. First up though, because I want you to get this, is protein. This is the one that matters most. When you're losing weight fast on your GLP-1s, protein is what tells your body to hold on to muscle instead of burning it for fuel. The appetite suppression makes this hard. You're not hungry, so you undereat. And the first thing that your body gives up when you undereat on protein is lean muscle tissue. You have to hit real protein target every single day, hungry or not. This is the protein first rule. And on a GLP-1 med, this isn't optional. It's the difference between losing fat and losing your freaking face. Now, second, we got resistance training. Protein gives your body the reason to keep your muscle. Lifting gives it the signal. You don't have to become a freaking bodybuilder, right? But you're losing weight, and you're losing weight fast, and you're not giving your body a reason to hold on to that muscle. So your body just reads the muscle as expensive tissue. I don't really need this. In fact, losing this would be a good thing. That's smart body, unfortunately, what we don't want to see. Resistance training is how you tell it otherwise, and it directly protects the structural scaffolding underneath your face. Third up, the speed of loss itself. Faster is not better. When you lose weight slower, you give collagen remodeling time to keep up with the volume that you're losing. The months-long lag that we talked about earlier shrinks when that loss isn't outrunning your skin's ability to reorganize. The patterns that dermatologists describe is consistent. Skin and structure recover better when weight loss comes off at a rate that your body can actually keep pace with, which often means giving it 6 to 12 months of stability rather than crashing the weight off as fast as the medication allows. Remember what I said up top, right? You start early, but you don't get fixed overnight. This is the part that takes time, and it's supposed to take time. The signals that you start the same week. The structure rebuilds on its own schedule. So rushing it is the exact thing that broke your face in the first place. So here's the most important takeaway to remember, all right? It was never the stack or the foundation, it's both. And they're not equal halves doing the same thing. They're two specialists doing different jobs. The stack is your surface specialist. It's the fastest. It's the most direct way to rebuild skin and collagen. There's no foundation habit that replicates what GHK-Cu signals. The foundation is your structure specialist. Protein, lifting, a sane loss rate. That's what rebuilds what's underneath. You run the foundation without the stack and your surface recovery is slow and limited. You're leaving your best tool on the table. And you run the stack without the foundation and you're rebuilding a beautiful surface over a structure that's still caving in. You need both specialists. That's a two-problem fix. And that's the thing that the one syringe crowd will never tell you, because it's a lot harder to sell protein targets in a barbell than it is to sell a vial. And if this is the first time the whole picture has actually been laid out for you in one place, that's what this channel is for. Subscribe and you'll get the version of this story that nobody's telling you. So let's talk about actually doing this, because where you get these peptides and how you run them matters just as much as which ones you pick. So the peptide space right now is a gray market and a black market, and I need you to understand what that means. So a lot of what's sold online is research grade material from sources with no oversight. No guarantee of what's actually in the vial, no guarantee of purity, no guarantee if it's sterile. When someone online says they're running these 3 compounds in a syringe that they bought from an unverified source, that's not an advanced protocol. That's a roll the dice situation with something that you're injecting into your body. Pharmaceutical grade sourcing is a different category entirely. The material that's actually tested, actually verified, actually what the label says. And if you're ordering off the gray market, you need to send your peptides off for testing at the very least. Just do me a favor, right? Because it's really for you. And then there's technique. The GHK copper has a specific quirk that's worth knowing. It can sting. It can sting a lot, right? Copper peptides are known to be irritating to the tissue, so a brief burning or stinging at the site is expected, and it doesn't mean something's wrong. It's mitigated by diluting properly, letting it come to room temperature if it's a big problem for you, using a small gauge needle, rotating sites, and injecting slowly. But it's exactly the kind of thing that nobody tells you until you've already done it wrong and you're freaking panicking. So here's where this leaves you. You've got a stack that genuinely works on the surface, a foundation that rebuilds the structure, a sourcing problem that can hurt you, an injection technique that nobody walks you through. That's a lot to run blind, right? And that's what our team does, right? We do this every day. So if you want a protocol built and supervised properly, the right stack for your situation, pharmaceutical grade sourcing, the technique done right, and blood work to actually trace what's happening instead of just guessing, set up a free call with our team. The link's in the description, or you can text the number on the screen. The people on that call will walk through your situation, figure out whether this is right fit for you, and if so, our medical team prescribes and manages your peptides from our 503A pharmacy. Now, one honest thing here, because I'd rather you be straight with you than waste your time. If you've already bought the peptide somewhere else and you just want someone to supervise a protocol on the vials that you got, it's not what we do. Our team oversees what our team prescribes. That's how we can actually stand behind the sourcing and the result. If that's not you and you want to do the whole shebang with us, then the free call is where you would start. Now, if you're watching this because the real issue is that the weight loss itself has stalled, you're fighting a plateau, the stubborn kind that peptides alone don't touch, we do that too as well. We go comprehensive deep with our coaching, much deeper than just peptide prescriptions. Let them know on the call too as well, because that's a different path, but it's the same number. Now that's the whole picture. The glow stack from the surface, the foundation for the structure, sourcing and supervision so that you're not doing it blind. 2 problems, 1 system. Now you know what actually fixes it. Now, if you want the deep dive on GHK copper by itself, how it works solo before you ever build the stack, I've got a full breakdown on just that. There it is right there, guys. We'll see you later.